My hands are strong enough, they're strong enough, and I'm good enough. My hands are strong enough to give love. I know that my arms are long enough, they're long enough, and I'm good enough. My arms are long enough to give love. I know that my heart is wide enough, it's wide enough, I'm good enough. My heart is wide enough to give love. I know that my light is bright enough, it's bright enough, I'm good enough. My light is bright enough to give love. And my heart is wide enough to give love. I know that my arms are long enough to give love. My hands are strong enough to give love.
Please join me in the chalice lighting word. In the light of truth, in the warmth of love, we gather to seek and seek to share.
Everyone in the world has gone to bed one night or another with fear or pain or loss or disappointment. And yet each of us has awakened, arisen, somehow made our ablution, seen other human beings, and said, "Morning, how are you? Fine, thanks, and you?" It's amazing. Wherever that abides in the human being, there is the nobleness of the human spirit, despite it all, black and white, Asian, Spanish, Native American, pretty, plain, thin, fat, vowed or celibate, we rise. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Just 'cause I walk as if I have oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like suns and like moons, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my sassiness upset you? Don't take it so hard just 'cause I laugh. As if I have gold mines digging in my own backyard. You can shoot me with your words. You can cut me with your lies. You can kill me with your hatefulness. But just like life, I'll rise. Does my sexiness offend you? Oh, does it come as a surprise that I dance? As if I have diamonds at the meeting of my thighs. Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from a past rooted in pain I rise. A black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak miraculously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. And so, naturally, there I go rising.
Dem do badu badu dem do badu badu dem do badu badu dem do badu badu stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, the world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way.
Thank you so much, Carlton, and thank you to everyone who's providing a space and an opportunity for me and all of us to come together in this moment. My name is Everett Thompson. I am your Side with Love campaign manager, and love requires us to struggle. Love requires us to stretch. Love requires us to actually understand our own boundaries and to stay porous, letting things in and letting things out. If you've ever been in love, you know love will shape you and it will sometimes make you cry. But in the end, when you can find that sweet spot, that place where you want to come to over and over again, love makes it all worth it. It is from this place of love that I come and I speak with us, collective us, and extend love to the folks who are out on the front lines and the fence lines, out to the folks who are saying, for the love of our children's children. And for me, when I think about, I'm a proud Southerner. I'm a Black father of a beautiful Black son. And I think about the love that y'all are doing in the streets for my son Elijah, for my godson Isaac, for my nieces Avani and Sarah and Sabina, for Javon and for little Michael. I also think about in this moment, from moments past in my lineage as a Southerner by birth and by choice, someone spoke my name. My great-grandmother and my great-great-great-grandmother spoke my name into existence. And they too, when they were, as we would say, rioting, I like to say, when they were taking back their humanity, in the midst of all this, they were saying my name and they were out in the streets or out in the fields saying, we're not gonna plow no more. We're not gonna work no more until you see me fully as I am, as a woman, as a man, as a gender non-binary person. You need to see me. In this moment, when I think about what has brought us to this place, and although I sit in a Southern seat with my Southern drawl, I am very clear that, you know, wherever you are on this continent, there has been a place of rebellion. due to the fact of othering and saying that others' humanity is not worthy to be fully recognized, and your bodies need to be policed, and that you, my friend, are capital. And so when I look at this moment from my lens, I go back to remembering my lineage. I go back to the place of Reconstruction. And some would say, well, Everett, why would you go to Reconstruction? So for me, that was somewhat of a highlight. And actually, I believe we're still in a Reconstruction moment, right? Reconstruction, when folks said, hey, you're no longer slaves, when folks said, hey, to some of our beautiful indigenous tribes and said, you can have your sovereign nation. When folks said, hey, we see you not more than chattel. However, we still don't trust you, so we're going to monitor your coming and goings. We're going to surveillance you. We're going to actually evolve our laws so that you still can't marry, so that you still have to fight for the right to vote, so that you still have to have the wounds. Although under the guise of providing opportunity, some of us, and I say us because, my people are in me and they're around me right now, some of us believe that we actually could hit this opportunity. See, we believed what the government told us. How many times have we believed across, from someone else, the lie, thinking that just this time something would be different? So how did we come to this moment? So again, Reconstruction, when we think back, this was also a time of over 80% of Black people were registered to vote. And you see formerly enslaved folks actually learning the Constitution, understanding all the intricate ways of what it meant to actually be human and to be a citizen of these United States, and saying, I want that. This was the opportunity that were presented to folks to say, yes, you are here, you have actually arrived. There was never a, I'm sorry. There was a, you have arrived. There was never a reparations. There was, now you can have this. There was never a reckoning. And also, let's be clear, it was from a place of fear, because they were tired of Black folks and our comrades of actually scorching the land, right? Of saying, we will not, only will we not work, we will actually burn this all down. And that's the economy, right? And so we can't talk about this moment without talking about the economic understanding, the political understanding. So politically, there were moves to allow folks to become semi-human. And then there was also structure, as some of y'all presidents said, law and order, in which they actually began to put law and order in place. So you start to see the patrols, you start to see the Jim Crow laws, you start to see the actual clamping down on where people will go. You start to see also the rebellion of our folks. So this moment is a continuation of a rebellion of people saying how wherever they sit on the spectrum, I am human. See me as a human as I am, and I deserve not only to breathe, but to thrive. You see me in this moment of saying, even as COVID-19 goes across the nation and a country and countries, their inability to actually prepare and actually protect our people because they don't see us as being human, collective us. We see this systemically when you look at food deserts across the country. We see this systemically when you look at ICE and people, our kids in cages. When we think about immigrant justice, we see this systemically when we think about trans and gender non-conforming folks not being able to actually work so they can have a life, not being able to actually thrive in the places they are, not being able to have access to healthcare. We see this systemically when our brothers and sisters and siblings who are disabled not being able to have access to actually be able to participate fully. We see this when our indigenous brothers and sisters are saying, give us our sovereignty since you've taken our land, and stop poisoning us. This, what we're seeing right now, is not a riot, it's a rebellion, it's a reclaiming of our humanity. And wherever you are with your proximity to whiteness, I say this as a Black man who has a Black son whose mother is white, and with that proximity to whiteness, it will not save him and it will not save her. But the question becomes to her in this moment, as well as many of you, what more must you do to align what we say in our shirts, what we say on our Facebook pages, what we say in our theoretical ramblings to make it so? So how do we actually uphold the humanity of all of us? It means, yes, we not only do we need to look at who we're voting into DAs or who we're voting in, we also need to look at who is holding these city structures, who are holding the people and the police accountable. How are we militarizing each one of these places? It's asking us in our neighborhoods, do we actually know our Black and brown neighbor, not from a bolo, be on the lookout, but from a I see you and I want to make sure you're covered? It means that it's not just about when folks are coming to your congregations because their face is different than yours. Do you stare at them and say, I hope you stay? But you actually think about, how do you make this place a place of hospitality for the long term? So it's not a question of whether they will stay. It's the question of, we will never leave because we feel seen and held here. So Kindred, I'm calling us into this moment the same way our people on the streets, young and old and in between, are longing and crying for us to say, see us in our humanity. Not for a moment, but for our full lives. Not for now, but for our children. Not just because it is the hip thing to do, it is the photo op to do, but it is our moral calling. It is our inherent worth. I say this again from a place of, love and care, of agitation and rage, of jokefulness, but also seriousness. Because at the end of the day, my life, not only does it matter, because I know that, and I don't need you to tell me that. I am going to take that back, because not just my life, my son's life and daughter and other, and they matter. And for that, I am saying this political home and the place that we're in this moment, we can create a new possibility. No one thought back. I'm always amazed of what my great grandmama thought about and dreamed about when they were enslaved, to think that this could be true. So we can say we can have something different. There is new possibilities, and the possibilities are endless. I want to say so much love to Blue, Black Lives, and UU, to Drum, to ARE, to the folks who have been on the front line and also helping to shape this place here as the UU faith, to actually uphold themselves to a standard that's not just about theory, but it's about practice, but also is the praxis in between the two. I want to say, wherever you are, don't get turned away because you don't understand. Turn in and know that there are folks willing and ready to help hold and move. And I don't like holding too much, but I do like to push a little bit, right? Because we want to make sure that we are actually stretching ourselves, right? I'm only 5'1", but I keep stretching, thinking I'm going to get 6'2". So we want to stretch ourselves, stretch our heart from the front side to the back sides. We want to stretch our imagination and stretch our faith, so that we're not just talking about God swing low. We're saying this is a beautiful place that we can all be in and we can thrive. I hope you will journey with me, those who are willing and those who are able. I hope that there's a balm that you can also touch into. And if you ever feel like you are alone, please know that you can tap into the wisdom that is all around you, and you're never alone. And we are going to get through this together. We will look totally different. And that's all right. Every piece of gray hair that I get, I look totally different, but I'm like, I'm all right. And so will you. So please, we will continue. I'm sending you love and grace and peace, but most of all, agitation so that we can get to the other side. Be well and be better, family.
When I wake up in America, I see my neighbors there with every type of clothes and shoes, hats and skin and hair, every fine belief and custom, scores of songs from who knows where. When I wake up in America, our stories fill the air. Wake up, despierta, wake up, despierta, wake up in America. The light in the harbor shines for us all. When I wake up, I see the kids playing happily swaying. It's good to be staying in a place like this, with a face like this. When I wake up in America, I put away my fear, and I love my neighbor as myself. And I say, I'm glad that you're here. We have found ourselves together in a land we dream could be. When we wake up in America, everybody will be free. Wake up, despierta, wake up, despierta, wake up, please, America. The light in the harbor shines for us all. When I wake up, when you wake up, when we wake up in America.
So my name is Alandria Williams, the third Black Southerner up on the list. I love Southern people. You don't have any clue how much I love being from the South. It's like the greatest thing since sliced bread, baked potatoes, and turnip greens. So for the next 3 weeks, I'm the co-moderator of the UUA with Reverend Mr. Barb Grieve, and honored to be here with you. Also, am a raised up Unitarian Universalist, and very clear about that fact, and come from the Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church in Knoxville, Tennessee, which had a church shooting, which is how we got Side with Love in the first place. And so I'm speaking on many different ways as someone that's an organizer, somebody that comes from a church that's been through the ringer over and over again, and somebody that's your co-moderator for the next couple weeks. There's a song that is in my soul right now called Climbing Up the Mountain. And it goes like this. We're climbing up the mountain. We're climbing up the mountain. We're climbing up the mountain. We're climbing up the, it's about we're climbing, right? My asthma's bad, but it's about like what it means to climb up the mountain. We're climbing up the mountain till we reach the top of the hill, right? And I can't even climb right now. I'm on a walker. But the point is, what does it mean for us to climb as a people? What does it mean for us to climb as a society? And what does it mean for us to climb in the ways that mean the most righteous for me and my folks, right? And so I'm going to talk to Black Unitarian Universalists and non-Black Unitarian Universalists and other people, because sometimes we forget that some of us exist in this faith and that I don't need to be told to do something that I already have to do anyway, right? So we're going to do a both and today. So what is important to hold for me right now with 75-year-old parents who are from Alabama and Florida, who have seen the ringer, who got beat up, who got whipped through weigh-ins, who from 14 to 16 and 15 to 18 actually desegregated Alabama, helped desegregate Pensacola, got hurt, and they hurt some people in particular, right? So when all people act like they know the civil rights movement was like, I'm like, you might should call somebody and ask them what it was really like if they were really in it. Because what you think you know, you may not know, right? We are in a moment where I got my 21-year-old here and a 5-year-old trying to figure out what does it mean for us to survive as Black people in this moment. And what does it mean that we are doing the same thing over and over again? I have asthma due to being shot at. I have lung problems because of hand grenades and tear gas bombs in this country and other places. When I was 14 years old, I started organizing because of zero tolerance policies and police murdering my friends. I am 40. So when people act like this is new, I'm like, absolutely not. Been doing this work since I was 14 for the same reason young people are in the streets today and been in the streets that whole time. So really essential for us to not act like this is 5 years old, 3 years old, 2 years old. This is a long, long time coming, right? And there have been UUs on the front. There have been UUs as the problem, right? There is no one size fits all story. There are times we've been right there and times we've been like, maybe not. And so sometimes we got to clean our own house, right? So you can't wear your little sizzle shirt out in the street if your home church is a nightmare. If the people of color in your congregation don't feel like they're supposed to be there, you can't go out in the street and be like, I'm ready for you. No, you're not. You think you are. Sounds cute, but you're not really, right? And so I want to say this because we're in a particular moment right now around Gadfly. We're in a particular moment around what kind of faith are we going to be? Are we going to be one that is just around when it's easy? Are we going to be one that really dismantles all the little nooks and crannies, all the stuff that we got to uncover and destroy, right? It's got to drizzle up and die. So I just want to offer, as someone who's an organizer in the world, who is always confused in the UUA, it's like unreal. It doesn't even make sense. We focus on some stuff that I'm like, people dying, yo. Like, why are you consumed with the color of the paint on the wall? Why are you arguing about really little stuff when we got actual stuff happening in the street? So I want to encourage you to take the word peaceful protest away. Just say protest. I want you to encourage that to get in the street and protect my people, right? I want to encourage you that if you have proximity to wealth, to use it right now. I want to encourage you to really think about, we have leverage in some places. How do we build cooperatives? How do we build loan funds? How do we actually do the work that it takes to shift community, not just march? Because I'm going to tell you, the marching ain't going to do it enough. We got to actually transform every fabric of this society. Every piece, from environment to legal to everything. Because we are dying and hurting due to all the things. And so the immense, like my little issue is this, when we know they're all connected, we got to move like they all connected. We got to move from a place of radicalness, not just cute love. I don't need cute love. I need radical love. That is like my job is to transform this world. And my job is to transform myself. And as Black peoples, it is our job to know that we are worthy. It is everybody's job to know that we are worthy, not just thriving, but worthy of all the things that we are supposed to have. All the ways that we take care of ourselves and each other. And the last thing I want to just say, because I know my time is up and been up, is that it's really important for us to support each other in this moment. It is essential for us to support each other in this moment. It has been a hard 3 years being the moderator of this, co-moderator of this faith. It is really important to support each other, the younger leadership and the leadership of color in this movement. Because if not, we will fester. We will not go the way we went. And I just talked to somebody I met when they were 14 years old. That's like, what are the things I learned from groundwork? What are the anti-racism programs that I learned from? So we got to bring those back. We must bring the anti-racism organizing back. We must bring back youth work, because them young people are now running the institutions in this country and they are running the organizing groups. So we must shift inside and outside and train up our people to go. Thank you. Love you, lots.
I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. My ears are wide open. My eyes are now open to see what I may be. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening. I am listening. In this moment of Spirit, speak through me. I can hear the voices of all my kin. I'm listening, singing. I am listening, the tweeting and howling into the wind. My ears are wide open, and oh, the joy. My eyes are wide open, oh, the love to see and hear for you and me. Oh, I'm listening in this moment of silence. I am listening. I hear Spirit speak through me.
I've been reflecting quite a lot on the idea of apocalypse as of late. Not the conjuring of it that many Christian faiths have been looking forward to, though there is plenty of that to go around. That is to say, a time of destruction, a time of catastrophe, or a day of reckoning. No, not that idea of apocalypse. I have instead been pondering on another interpretation of the word, on how apocalypse also means revelation or the revealing of that which was hidden. It is a rendering of the term that we tend to forget for some reason, and that is exactly the one I wish to explore with you today. I believe that if we are honest with ourselves, we need to admit that we are living in an apocalyptic time, a time of astonishing revelations, where a nation elects to its highest office the scariest racial demagogue in a generation, just after having elected its first Black president, as Michael Eric Dyson says, or where brown and Black children are being ripped from their parents' arms and placed in cages, where the prison industrial complex has become another way to enslave Black men and profit from their labor, when those same Black men are not being killed on the streets by police officers, and so on. And if we're going to truly be sincere, we might need to admit that at least here in the United States, this apocalypse ramped up following the presidency of Barack Hussein Obama. I was surprised that he was not only elected once, but gained the votes to serve a second term. Also, many, including myself, interpreted at least his first election as hope manifested. However, we quickly noticed how his presidency instead brought to light so much of the hidden animosities towards people of color, things that Black people have experienced all along but were not perceived, and I use the term loosely, by the dominant white culture. I say loosely because this lack of perception is perhaps tied to an underestimation by white liberals of how deep and wide racism permeates the fabric of this nation, as author and activist Sharon Welch suggests. I read an article by the Haitian American author Edwige Dansica titled "Message to My Daughters." In it, Dansica makes the case for refugee status for African American living in the United States. To support her views, she cites part of an essay from immigration attorney Raha Georgiani, an article that he wrote for the Washington Post. Suppose a client walked into my office and told me that a police officer in his country had choked a man to death after a petty crime. Suppose he said police fatally shot a man in the back as he ran away, that they arrested a woman during a traffic stop and placed her in jail where she died 3 days later, that a 12-year-old boy in that country was shot and killed by the police as he played in the park. Then suppose he told me all of those victims were from the same ethnic community, a community whose members fear being harmed, tortured, or killed by police or prison guards. And that this is true in cities and towns across his nation. At that point, as an immigration attorney, I'd tell him he had a strong claim for asylum protection under US laws. This is our country right now. This is our America. We have Americans needing asylum from their own government. It is that serious, my friends. Dansica's article was one I was to read and then later discuss with a group of colleagues. It dawned on me as we were talking that this was an emotional experience for me because I had lived through most of the events Dansica talked about. For my colleagues, it was new information to be used for as fodder for philosophical discourse. In other words, this was no intellectual exercise for me. This was part of my lived experience as a person of color. This was the reality my body felt. and the reality that many Black bodies of America feel every day. I worry because we, the people, have been fighting those injustices for so long, yet they remain strong and ready to do even more damage. Worse, these injustices and their impacts now appear to be endorsed openly by those in power from the very top on down. To have, in 2019, white supremacist groups marching down Main Street, spewing anti-Blacks and anti-Semitic garbage, then to have the sitting president of the United States publicly sympathize with them is crushing. At the same time, the work of racial justice must continue. For what is the alternative? There is no alternative. For the marginalized, for the people who see the value and the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, our sixth principle, the work must continue. As people of faith, the apocalypse is upon us, yes, but it ought not to scare us into inaction. As Unitarian Universalists, this is where we are to take our place as leaders in the world and press on with the work toward a world where there is justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, as our second principle aspires. Yet, it is important to name how inaction, maybe because of weariness, maybe because of heartbreaks, or from being burned out, or inaction because one chooses, because it is a choice, my friend, to disbelieve the oppressed or outrightly dismiss racism, as Welch noted. How inaction can and does enable evil to endure and thrive. Yes, it is difficult to persist in the work of justice when our spirits are weighed down. At the same time, we can't let our eyes off evil. Still, the Reverend Dr. Sinkford cautions against our tendency to overwhelmingly focus on calling out the flaws of progressive people like ourselves. That even as we work mindfully to create a just world, we focus on calling out the things we are doing wrong. While that is helpful at times, he continued, that alone is not sufficient. We, each of us, must have a word of hope to offer and a dream or vision to call us forward. That is all of us. As you use, we don't evangelize, but we naturally preach to others about our religion by the way we live our lives. So I ask you, what is the message we are giving the world? What are we saying to the marginalized? Especially in this time of apocalypse, how are we projecting a hopeful disposition? I don't mean empty hope. I am talking about the kind of hope that Rebecca Saltnick speaks of in Hope in the Dark. Hope is not a lottery ticket you can sit on the sofa and clutch feeling lucky. It is an axe that you break down doors with in an emergency. Hope should shove you out the door because it will take everything you have to steer the future away from endless war, from the annihilation of the earth's treasures, from the grinding down of the poor and marginalized. To hope is to give yourself to the future, and that commitment to the future is what makes the present inhabitable. Hope requires action on our part and commitment. We are the ones we've been looking for, as many have said before me. We might have had the luxury to live in denial in the past. We made the mistake of thinking that we were much further along than we thought. As a country and as a faith tradition, we had the audacity to think that we had moved beyond racism because we had elected a Black president. The revelations of the past few years, the events of the past few months, the brutal killing of George Floyd just a week ago, they have all told us otherwise. Accordingly, we must not look away from all which has been revealed to us. Moreover, as a people of faith, we can't continue to live as if these revelations mean nothing, that it's business as usual. As we profess that social justice is our sweet spot. Well, let's claim this moment and shine. Welch asks, what enabled the first victory of Barack Obama? And what propelled the backlash? As a denomination, we are a microcosm of the larger population. So with the revelations of the past decade, let us too ask such questions and reassess our work thus far and make course adjustments as needed. Let's be leaders in this moment of exceptional hopelessness and fatigue. We are made for such times. The work ahead of us will not be easy. The very fact that we are still here, that we are still where we are today with regards to race, tells us that it is difficult work ahead of us. There is much figuring out to be done. As Dyson states, we are a nation in grave need of moral repair, a repair only possible if white people join all races and learn from them the current costs and painful history of racial injustice. Things might seem dire. In fact, everything around us seems to be supporting that idea. But I'm here to tell you that it has not yet been decided. As long as we have breath, as long as we remain in the fight, all is not lost. Beloveds, we find ourselves in the midst of an apocalypse. We have so many possibilities ahead of us, so many choices to make as to how we will use these revelations. Let us choose to find a better way. Let's uncover the hope.
When I rise, I will rise like a bird joyfully. And when I fall, I will fall like a leaf gracefully. When I rise, I will rise like a bird that soars joyfully. And when I fall, I will fall like a leaf so gracefully.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive in this great turning. We shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive in this great turning. We shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love.
Please join me in the chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please raise your hands in the spirit of connection for our closing song.
Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. Ba-ba, ba-ba. There's so much to appreciate, even when the world seems out of hand. Even when we do not understand, still there's so much. Ooh, there's so much to be grateful for, even much invitation to breathe. Let us take a moment just to breathe and recognize there's so much. Oh, there's so much. There's so much. So much is wonderful, even in the midst of loss and change. There's a chance that something new begins. And don't you want that so much? Oh, there's so much. So I know we need it so much. Bye-bye.